The 1587 voyage to Roanoke, consisting of 118 men, women, and children, was compromised from the beginning. Welcome to my channel Enlightenment in the Darkness. The failures of the previous expedition to find a suitable base from which to privateer, coupled with the lack of discovery of precious metals and other supposed treasures, led many investors to begin withdrawing support. Sir Walter Raleigh himself, even though still supportive of the idea of an English foothold in the New World, began to show a decreased enthusiasm for the venture. The colonization attempt had already cost £30,000, a steep sum in the 1580s. Nevertheless, in April of 1587, the new group of colonists began their journey. Led by John White, the colonists arrived at Roanoke in July, but it was not their intended destination. Roanoke Island was to only be a stopping point on this voyage so White could hopefully make contact with a very small garrison left on the island after the departure of the 1585 expedition. Instead, the colonists were to sail up the Chesapeake Bay to find a more suitable area for settlement. However, the flotilla's captain, Simon Fernandez, refused to take the colonists farther up the coast, the excuse being that summer was rapidly ending. The colonists were left at Roanoke Island. On July 22, 1587, White and the colonists set foot on Roanoke Island. The only clue as to the fate of the previous garrison was a sun-bleached skeleton of one of the men. The colonists got to work rebuilding and refurbishing the fortification and dwellings left by the 1585 expedition. By the end of July, the colonists made substantial progress. White, however, was convinced that he could move the colonists north to the Chesapeake, their intended destination, before winter. Once again, the tenuous relationship between the English and the Algonquian broke down. In the autumn of 1587, approximately 118 men, women, and children arrived at Roanoke Island with Governor John White. They too arrived low on supplies. The colonists pleaded for White to return to England for more. White left his daughter, Eleanor White Dare, her husband Ananias Dare, and their daughter Virginia, the first English baby born in America, back in Roanoke before sailing back to England. The colonists told him that they intended to move more inland, away from the lingering resentments and hostilities from the Secetans. War had broken out with Spain, and White couldn't return to the New World for 3 years. When he finally did in 1590, he found the settlement abandoned with no clues, except the enigmatic messages, CRO and Croatan, carved into a tree and palisade, respectively. And thus, the big debate began. The leading theory is that the colonists went to Croatan Island, now known as Hatteras Island. In his writings, White interpreted the carved messages as the colonists' new location. His attempts to get to Croatan Island were unsuccessful because of a storm. They had to sail out to sea. After the storm had passed, the ship's crew did not want to go back. A heartsick White ended up sailing back to England. He never returned to Roanoke and believed that his family was dead. main scholar who supports this theory is Scott Dawson, co-founder of the Croatan Archaeological Society. He and his excavation team found a slate writing tablet, 16th century gun hardware, parts of swords, a rapier hilt, pottery shards, and even a floral clothing clasp belonging to a woman. He believes that the colonists lived with the relatively friendly Croatans, eventually intermixing. Accounts from years afterward describe some indigenous people with blue or gray eyes and sometimes blonde hair. Dawson also points out that the Croatans were at war with the Secetans at the time. The Croatans helped the English a few years earlier in their own skirmishes with the Secetans. The second most popular theory is that the colonists relocated to the Salmon Creek Albemarle area. In 2011, the First Colony Foundation, together with the British Museum, made a discovery on John White's 1585 La Virginia Pars map. The map includes a hidden fort symbol near the confluence of Salmon Creek and Albemarle Sound in North Carolina. In 2012, the foundation investigated the location of the fort. Researchers found English pottery and weapons, but no trading goods like copper or beads. This was called Site X. Historian Thomas Paramore of Meredith College supports the idea that several colonists went to live with the Weepimeek. They and the English were friendly, and their land had good soil for crops. However, he believed that the colonists perished in conflicts among the Weepimeek, Secetans, and Shawanoks. Not to mention most encounters between Old and New World peoples usually ended catastrophically for the natives. They often succumbed to European diseases like smallpox and influenza. But some historians do not rule out the possibility that the colonists also perished from a New World disease. However, there are several holes in this theory. No remains, no graves, no traces of personal belongings, and no evidence of a major contagion among the region's tribes have ever turned up. The likelihood of a New World sickness was low, as the Americas did not have as many dangerous germs as Europe. The disappearance of all their belongings strongly suggests that movement took place. The natural disaster theory is less well known but bears some merit. The colonists reportedly arrived during the worst drought in 8 centuries. It lasted from 1587 to 1589. So what are your thoughts about the Roanoke Lost Colony? I'd like to know your theories. Please feel free to comment your thoughts below. I would like to thank you for joining me here today on my channel, Enlightenment in the Darkness. Please like and subscribe to my content. Many blessings to the rest of your day.